Welcome back sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Ito yung FYI series natin. My goodness, ang dami nangyari, including yours truly has been in the eye of the tiger storm. I don't know anong pwede niyong tawagin dyan. But because of that, we have very special guests today. Ano pangalan niyo ulit, sir? Dino? Ikaw, ano pangalan mo?
I'm Carlo.
Carlo, yeah. I think once upon a time, we were kind of together in some competition or something like that. So this is a kind of a reunion. Although I know na ako yung Gen Z dito sa group na ito.
Ay,
But lahat naman kami youth. So, speaking of youth,
Objection, Your Honor.
bago natin pag-usapan si Sara Duterte, ating minamahal na Supreme Court, at ating mga DDS lawyer na kaibigan. Nandiyan na yung mga totoong Gen Z dumating na. Pag-usapan muna natin itong what is your read of the whole Bam and Kiko performance as minority within majority so far? Because we had a debate on this on my TV program the other week. And you were more on the more optimistic side. I was more on the skeptical side. Now, para hindi dumaming haters ko, I'll be somewhere in the middle of those two persons that day, right? No. So far, it looks like...
talaga to? Teka lang.
I believe in sequential warfare. But seriously, in fairness naman, on key issues, whether transparency sa bicameral meeting, on even resolutions now for the Senate to assert its jurisdiction over this.
And its constituent power vested upon it by no less than a constitution.
And in fairness, Bama is also pushing for multiple committee chairmanship, including salamat naman kay Alan Peter Cayetano sa dami-dami niyang committee. He's willing to dispense with one of them. So it looks like maybe they're not playing their card that bad, and maybe they actually can maximize their position as minority with the majority.
Well, I think, the conversation amongst principals, I think pinag-usapan naman nila yan, no? Even Risa, Bam, Kiko. And as far as I know, nag-usap-usap yung mga yan, no? Siguro may konting disagreement, pero I think naintindihan rin even by Risa Hontiveros why they have to join the majority. And ang sabi naman nila, di ba, they have to fight from within. Binibili ko yung argument completely and wholesale. Na can you just imagine kung ibang nakaupo sa Committee on Education.
Education na walang
just share, di ba? Robin Padilla, ilagay natin dyan. Bato de la Rosa doon sa, let's say for example, agriculture. Di ba? Ang sa akin, napabuti yun. Mas malaki yung capabilities na. I buy the argument that you can still be a good senator, even if you're not in the majority, but you can probably have more means if you're in the majority. And I've never had doubts. No? Time and again naman, pinakita naman ni Bam Aquino at Kiko Pangilinan that they've been with us in extracting accountability, progressive side. No? Naintindihan ko yung some sort of disappointment, but again, I always reiterate my plea, na let's be level-headed when we're dealing with allies who time and again have shown that they're with us on this fight. In other words, no to cancel culture. Let's try to understand them, cancel them out. Kung meron silang mga krinos na red lines, at ang red line sa akin, hindi joining the majority. Kasi nga, hindi ako sure kung better si Tito Soto. Again, we can debate that, di ba? But ultimately, I understand that they have their own reasoning and they will be more effective that way. Yun lang yung sa akin, no? And natutuwa ako. Kasi binabantayan ko rin. Sabi ko naman sa'yo nung nag-ad tayo, di ba? Right. Na pagka sinabi nilang huwag ituloy ang impeachment, red line sa akin yan. I will be the first one to call them out.
But isn't that too low of a benchmark? I mean, some would say, okay, let's look at the committees. Marcoleta will have 2 committees, including Blue Ribbon Committee. Bongo will have, I think, 3 committees. The Cayetanos put together almost half a dozen committees. Correct. Robin Hood Padilla has 3 committees, including on mass communications, and so kung something about fake news. So isn't being part of the majority also about, huwag mo naman kontrahin masyado yung mga kaibigan natin na ka-DDS. Let's say some of these hearings go a little bit off-kilter, to put it mildly.
That's crystal ball for me right now. Makikita ko naman, I'm sure they will still push through with their fiscalizer style, even if they're part of the majority. That's first. And second, I condemn in the strongest possible terms yung sila yung pinakamaraming committees. But the reality is, they are 7 or 8 in the Duterte bloc.
Yeah.
We are only 3 in the progressive bloc. Buti nga, nabigyan tayo ng 3. Actually, kahit si Risa Hontiveros, nabigyan pa rin ng gender.
Actually, may 4 kasi dalawang makakuha ni Bam at least so far.
Correct. Looks good. Looks good for us. We're just 3. The genuine opposition is just 3, handling 4 committees, powerful, education and agriculture, which are the most important committees based on at least the surveys na ano ba yung pinaka-importante sa taong bayan ngayong mga oras na ito. And again, can we just imagine if we give it to somebody else?
Or you would have a situation whereby I'm Marcos alone or Robin Hood Padilla alone have more committees than all the 3. So,
Yeah.
that's another way of looking at it, right? That's another. Ikaw, Carlo, I mean, what is your read so far para magkaroon ka rin ng haters? Kasi kulang ka pa yata ng haters eh. No. I mean, what is your read with this? Because one reading is, a lot of youth got mobilized, excited, Gen Z, because that's really your expertise. Because they were seeing some sort of alternative politics in BAM and Kiko the way they have seen it in Risa Ontiveros, in Akbayan, etc. And that therefore you have to make sure you keep these people on your side, or at least keep that sense of abiding hope in a different kind of politics, especially as we head towards the really big one, which is 2028.
Yeah, agreed. I think yun din ang kailangan matutunan ng at least the younger generation, the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha.
My generation.
Your
right?
generation. A lot of the Gen Alphas will be, this will be, the 2028 will be their first time to participate in a national election. So they're part of, I believe, the 13 million. And I think very important na malaman nila, singilin, ano ba yung primary issues? They supported Kiko and BAM, our two senators, primarily on the issue of food and education, which they got.
But was it only that, or was it more than that they represent a kind of a totally different, non-trapo, anti-trapo politics?
Yes, and agree, and compare that to 2019 when BAM ran for re-election. It was also a progressive campaign. Masyadong extremist naman yung take niya, very critical. I think they moved a little bit more understanding to get more voters involved.
Sure.
Yeah, to get more support. And I think it shows naman, they performed above the expectation ng mga, even the surveys, right? A lot of surveys got
Except
it wrong.
yung survey nung isang...
na they got it right, no?
I don't know, tawagin ko, apparatchik,
right?
operator, pretender. Okay, yeah.
I think what the younger generation have to understand that it's part and parcel, I think, of politics, that sometimes also have to go this way in order for them to secure the chairmanships that they needed to go para ma-deliver din nila yung campaign promises nila.
Okay, I think it's both sa akin. Agriculture and education, but at the same time, a lot of them voted for these people because they're not trapo, supposedly, di ba?
Yeah.
And they are idealistic, progressive, no? I think it's both, no? But I think the youth will understand, Gen Zs and Alphas, and even us millennials, because us older millennials,
yeah.
diba? We understand that you have to balance idealism with delivering results, no? And hindi naman nakita naman natin parang ang pito yung minority, sa totoo lang eh.
Yeah.
Di ba? Based on, so far, all the most important resolutions opening the BICAM process, that particular part of the SONA, patama yun sa SP kay Chis Escudero ni President Marcos kasi
Right.
disappointed daw dun sa insertions. Anong sabi ng dalawa? Kung supposedly part of the majority, open the BICAM process, no?
Right.
Anong sinabi ng dalawa when it comes to extracting accountability even with in the face of the Supreme Court decision? 'Di ba? Dapat ituloy at dahil constituent power natin 'to. I've never had a doubt, no. These two people are good people, at least based on the track record that we've seen. We need to keep them on their toes, I agree, no?
Right.
But not to the extent of canceling them. They are our allies, at least.
Anong pangalan yung isang spokesman ng ng Senate impeachment trial?
Si Attorney
Tonggol?
Tonggol,
speaks
yes,
as
yes.
if he speaks for the entire
Tapos
Senate.
kinall out ni Kiko.
No,
Sabi niya,
he
he does
doesn't
not
speak.
Don't listen to this attorney.
Right.
He does not speak for me. I am a senator
Yeah.
judge. He has never spoken
Yeah,
to me. Ever.
But I suggest they get you as the spokesman of the Kiko BAM. As a Kiko BAM part of... No, but kidding aside, going back to you, the reason why, again, I raised the youth issue is because you already now have Risa as a benchmark, right? Like, this is not 2019 anymore. Risa was not the phenomenon she has become in the past 3 years. So what I'm saying is that medyo, for some, at least some of us who have a much more progressive leaning, we have set a new bar. So therefore, traditional liberal politics, which is not bad. By the way, thank you so much to the Liberal Party for expressing solidarity with us, the martyrs of freedom of expression. But you know what I'm saying? Like, the idea is that Risa is setting the bar even higher in terms of almost like against all odds, talagang ganon. And therefore, going immediately for majority kind of sounds more of a reversion to the mean rather than, like ituloy yung ginagawa ni Risa. Kaya nga, some of us sarcastically said, akala namin si Risa ang may kailangan na kasama, yung pala si Cheese pa rin, di ba? Yung mga ganon, di ba? But again, para hindi magalit ng tao, I'm just trying to make people understand, saan galing yung criticism namin. Of course, gets namin, you have to be pragmatic, you have to get things done, hanap ng tao yan, di ba? Sounds like very much like BBM nung SONA. But my point is, meron na tayong new bar eh. And the fear we have is, baka hindi lang reversion to the mean, baka lalong maging mukhang marginalized si Risa na parang, yeah, we appreciate that, but maybe sometime in the future, we're not Sweden yet, or something. Do you get what I'm saying? I think that's where some of the apprehensions is coming from, in as much as I actually completely agree with everything you guys have been saying. I want to hear your voice yet.
So, naalala ko dito yung, they made this meme na tatlo sila sa bangka when Sen Kiko and Sen Bam won, na parang tatlo na kami sa Senado, tapos marami nga nang madidisillusion nung nalaman na biglang they joined the majority. Marami rin nag-alala, lalo na sa mga madaling madisillusion na youth natin pagdating sa issue.
So they are, right? Hindi lang tayo mga matatandang millennial, di ba?
Maraming na-shock kasi parang are these the
exactly.
people we voted for? Na parang, and then syempre nakiride na rin yung trolls ng haters ni Sen Kiko tsaka ni Sen Bam. But ultimately, yun nga, I think the rest will have to be seen how progressive they will be. And I think yun na naman yung advantage. No? They set, like you mentioned, mataas na yung bar. Grabe din siguro maningil yung lalo tang mga Gen Z, mga kabataan natin. Kasi ito yung pinangako mo. So I think that...
dapat masanay-sanay yung mga politiko na ganyan na ngayon ang constituency mo yan. Hindi naman natin sinasabi na kalaban na natin sila. Kasi I think may mga tao nag-react, grabe naman kayo, parang hindi naman natin kasama. Pero wait lang, bakit ang expectation nyo is sunod-sunuran lang kami? We can be in the same team and yet, I mean, it's like in coach, right? Minsan, even sa coach, sumisingil ka, coach, bakit naman ganun nangyari? Baka naman gusto mong ganun, di ba? Like, so I think sometimes maybe there's this culture na there's an expectation na 100% you'll just go with the flow. Tiwala lang, I don't buy that.
Yeah.
Trust but verify maybe, but not tiwala lang.
Pero okay din yung ginawa na action din yung feedback that they got from the youth sector na parang marami kagad up in arms. It only goes to show na that's ganun ka-liit yung tolerance nila na please don't mess this up. Please support our advocacy. That's the reason why we supported you. So I think yun naman din yung I assume and I pray na hindi nila ma-drop yung ball on that one.
Right.
Pero meron talagang mga nagtrato sa kanila na parang kaaway na sila.
Which we also have to, I think also...
We just have to, I just want to say that, di ba? Because it's a fact. Ang daming mga nagsasabi na pinagsisihan namin, binoto namin kayo, as if na-judge na yung buong track record nila and as if na-prejudge na hindi pa nga nagsisimula yung termino nila. Do you get what I'm saying? Na parang okay din na sabihin sa mga tao na magkaroon din tayo ng konting disiplina when it comes to the tone of voice that we use. Para sa mga allies natin. Supposedly, di ba? I think iba dapat yung tone ng voice natin kay Bongo, kay...
Right.
Ano ba yun? Kasi hindi mo yan allies eh. Ang sinasabing mga tao, and this is, sabi ko kanina, medyo off the record, pero sige, sabihin ko na rin nonetheless, kahit live tayo, no?
Yeah, medyo hindi mo na mabawi yan. Sorry, live na tayo.
Kasi sabi ko kanina, a lot of people also, even if well-meaning yung nagsasabi na Risa na, or si Risa has shown the higher standard. Risa is the progressive leader of the opposition. I know that they mean well, but a lot of the people in our allies also got turned off there, na parang siniset apart yung expectation ninyo. So, marami ako narinig na gano'n na parang siniset apart yung si Risa as if para siya ba yung lumulutang sa na leader of opposition as of the moment. And amongst allies, marami nagsabi, ang aga naman nito, magtrabaho muna tayo. So, sa akin, it's also because of the vitriol of the rhetoric na supposedly amongst allies, iba dapat kasi yung trato mo eh. Compared, I get the fact na dapat mas taas yung standard amongst us. Pero iba rin dapat yung trato mo when it comes to the vitriol of
constructive criticism
dapat. So I think there's a healthy balance.
But you know, the counter argument to that is, I want to get also your point on this. The counter argument is that there were some people who were starting to discredit Risa and say, wala naman ang bagyan si Risa.
Mali rin yun. Mali rin yun.
So I think, it became this kind of spiral of back and forth.
Correct. Amongst allies.
Amongst allies.
So I said, hep.
So actually,
Sino ba kaaway?
the vitriol was coming from multiple sides,
Correct.
including from some friends of ours na mukhang hindi sila believe kay Risa as the standard
Correct.
bearer.
Mali yun.
And remember, when Risa just said open siya to be standard bearer, she never said akin yan.
Correct.
There was quite a pushback, and not to mention, many people also felt na never nagkaroon ng follow-through doon sa passing the baton
Correct.
to Risa. Do you get what I'm saying?
Hindi, kaya yung mga well-meaning
So I
kay
completely
Risa.
agree with you, but I'm saying there's another side to this story within this world.
I agree. Kaya ka sa akin, hold your, teka lang, kabalma tayo, let's have a lucid conversation. Kasi even yung mga well-meaning kay Risa, na medyo sharp yung language nila, I'm not sure if it's effective in trying to uplift
it's gonna alienate
Risa.
people.
Oh, it's alienating some people. It's starting to become counterproductive. And then nagsasabi na parang, masyado naman yata yung akbayan sila lang ba tama? May mga gumagano na nakikita ko lang sa sa mga feeds ko. Sabi ko, wait, hindi po tayo magkakaaway dito, magkakampi po tayo dito. Let's check on each other, 'di ba? Let's make sure that we're all accountable towards each other. But yung vitriol, please, yung cancel culture, please. Let's eyes on the ball. Hindi tayo magkakalaban.
Okay, sorry Carl, I have to come in again on this. Ganito, obviously there's again another backstory to this. I know this again as a when I and Sonny Trillanes reacted to that 40-45 minutes talk between Sara and Lenny at the height of everything, considering also what the Dutertes did to Senator De Lima. Now, okay, let me make it more personal. I think that's where things got a little bit ugly because kami ni Sonny were being like maligned as being, toxic masculinity kayo, ganyan kayo. And okay, sa akin, go ahead, bash me. But I think, considering how much sacrifice Sonny Trillanes has made, how much he has risked his life, that was really below. I mean, talagang for me, unacceptable yung level of vitriol against Sonny Trillanes.
I agree.
And my sense is, and people can check it, multiple times I had Sonny on my show, galit pa rin siya. And parang ako pa yung, whoa, let's not go there, right? So, but I understand where Sonny Trillanes got, like, papatayin na nga ako ng mga Duterte yung ganyan, tapos makipag-meeting lang kayo, tapos galit pa kayo. Alam mo yung mga ganun? Like, I'm just saying it for what it is. So what I'm saying is that that's the passion of the moment. Now, there's also this kind of backstory. So sana naman, when Sonny Trillanes, or even ako, when we criticize, we can just defend Lenny without attacking us.
I agree, kasi nga, yung
I think
vitriol.
that was really
Correct.
bad. That was
Dapat
ugly.
hindi kayo natake kasi hindi ba kalaban si Sonny Trillanes. Si Sonny Trillanes, right from the very start, kung sa pinakamahihirap na panahon, kasama natin yan. You agree with him, you disagree with him in a lot of issues, he deserves some sort of, benefit of the doubt na hindi mo siya ika-cancel just because you disagree. So I agree, dapat hindi ka sasabihan ng ganyan, hindi gaganunin si Sonny, kahit na nagki-criticize lang siya kay Lenny, right? That's why, sabi ko nga, hindi tayo magkakalaban. Yung, keep our eyes on the ball. Pabalik ang mga Duterte. Sige, kung ganito tayo amongst allies.
Kaya nga my point is we need the confliction point. That was always my suggestion. Sorry for the military term. Like, okay, we're really not gonna agree on certain issues even though we might be from the same universe. So let's just have, parang terms of, the confliction. Okay, ganito, wag nating sabihin sa public, sa Twitter tayo mag-aaway. At walang bastusan, di ba? Kasi feeling ko, bastusan na yun when kine-question yung, wala naman ambag si Risa, mananalo pa rin sila, di ba? Pangit yun, pare. Or toxic masculinity sila, Trillanes. Like, dude, that's not right, di ba? That's not right, considering what Risa and Sonia have been doing, and not to mention Senator De Lima. But in fairness, Senator De Lima has been more like you, di ba? Basically like, okay, I have a lot to say here, but maybe I will not say it because I care. Going back to you, Carlo, what do you say about this?
Well, in generally, compared to when we did a lot of grassroots work in 2022, ang bilis kasi even the progressive, even sectors within the progressive group, ang bilis din maghanap ng ano yung what sets us apart, or ano yung criticism natin of certain progressive candidates, which I think is reflecting until 2025. Parang feeling ko the progressive movement also has to sort of recognize na there, like you mentioned, Richard, na parang yung the conflict. Kasi ang impact nun on the ground, imagine na lang yung mga principals natin nag-aaway. Paano pa kaya yung grassroots organizing yan?
Correct.
Na parang hinahanap na kagad, tatalo na kagad yung mga principal natin. So how do we get more people on board if that's the case? Kaya hindi natin biyakin
Just to be clear, Carlo, you're the guy on the ground mobilizing people more than any one of us, alright? Ako, nag-iingay lang ako dito sa mga platforms ko. But unfortunately, that gets my love. No, but you're the one on the ground. Like, in terms of emotions, yung texture of reality, pressing the flesh, yun nga, like, so what is your advice? Kasi eto na, meron na tayong ganitong backstory At medyo malalim yung hugot ng iba.
Yeah.
Hindi ko na kailangan sabihin ano na yan. I think I've said it already. So, how do we deal with this hugot and keep the kids, excited?
I don't mean to dismiss yung pinagdaanan din ng ibang mga reasons, mga iba-ibang sectors for criticizing different sectors or their critique of other principals or other leaders. But I think there's a bigger
fight.
Up ahead. And it's the return of the Dutertes to power.
Right. Let me build on this theme because here, I'm not saying this because may mga DDS na nag-petition sa akin, but I've been on the record since last week. I said, I also do not agree with people attacking Marvic Leonen, because I'm feeling he's quite a progressive person. I've seen him, I've interacted with him in the past, etc. Like I understand the frustration of people with the Supreme Court ruling, but I feel attacking him personally, the way a lot of people have been doing, could also alienate some of the justices who could not only become the next Chief Justice, but also people who, my senses, could be on the right side of history. Dina, I can see in your eyes that parang ayaw mo sagutin yun. I'm just saying along those lines. Now I took the pragmatic line on that. I said, you don't want to also alienate people like Justice Leonen, who is known for his progressive stance and who could be our next Chief Justice.
As I've mentioned, the Supreme Court is not an
Sacrosanct,
infallible
yeah.
institution. It does not have papal infallibility. And we've seen time and again that the Supreme Court is wrong on so many instances. Haveliana versus Executive Secretary, wherein sabi ng Supreme Court, they shied away from intervening doon sa ratification ng 1973 Constitution.
Right.
Tapos yung mga nagtataas lang ng kamay doon, sinong gusto ng bigas? Tataas ang kamay, tapos yun na raw yung plebiscite. Diba? Kasi hindi nag-plebiscite yung Constitution na pinasa ng mga Marcos na yun, pero hinayaan ng Supreme Court. Yung De Leon versus Duterte, my case, when I sued Rodrigo Duterte, diba? 13-2. I was just asking for his health records when he was doing his press conferences that are akin to the drunken monologue. And based on the Constitution, may karapatan tayong makita yung health records ng presidente at dapat nga nagkakaroon siya ng health bulletins.
And that was very brave in the midst of everything.
At the midst of everything.
Yeah.
So that's 13-2. I think nagkamali Supreme Court doon kasi without even requiring the OSG to file a comment, even if it's explicit in the Constitution, yung tinanggal nila si Chief Justice Sereno to a quo warrant of proceedings, I think that was really a mistake considering na winikin nila yung Supreme Court as an institution na pwede pala sila in bickering, tatanggalin mo through quo warrant to. Ang linaw sa Constitution, and that was the intention of the framers, that they can only be removed through the process of impeachment. Any first-year law student should know that the constitutional framers are unanimous there na dapat yun lang yung method para matanggal sila. What's the point? The point is, the Supreme Court as an institution is a human institution. And it is part and parcel of our tripartite democracy intended to check each other. But the ultimate check is the public. That is to say that the Supreme Court should not be, to quote their own jurisprudence, should also not be onion skin. I'm not saying na bastusin na Supreme Court, dapat hindi. Kasi, ang difference kasi sa Supreme Court and sa legislative, sa political institutions natin, the Supreme Court, ang pinakabala niya, ang pinaka-weapon niya is yung moral ascendancy niya. Diba? Yung legislative, may power of the purse. Yung executive, may
and they're
power
elected,
of the sword.
so they have popular mandate.
Popular mandate. Yung judiciary, wala eh.
Hindi
diba?
sila popular.
Wala. So talagang yung moral clarity niya lang as a guardians of the Constitution. That means that we have to, of course, accord some sort of respect. Diba? Na hindi siguro present sa legislative and executive kasi political process yan, political offices yan. That said, hindi rin dapat free from any kind of criticism ang Supreme Court. And in fact, it is our duty. It is our duty as citizens in a participative democracy to criticize the Supreme Court when it is wrong. Albeit respectfully, lalo na sa mga officers of the court. So, this is when I would say that I hope that the Supreme Court, alam ko may kaso ka, kinasuhan ka ng...
Hindi siya kaso, pinetition
ka, frivolous.
It was frivolous. It was ridiculous.
I think
mentioning
so.
facts of number appointment, there are political science studies about it.
Correct.
I am a public educator. It is my job. And I put context. I put below this and that,
Correct.
X, Y, and Z. So I think that was malicious of them to take out the whole context of that. But speaking of
Pero
this...
it's a human institution na. So ang kaya nga sinasabi ko, hopefully the Supreme Court will not...
even bother with this.
Will not even bother and will not commit the mistake of actually silencing citizens. Diba? Citizens, ordinary citizens yan
I'm an ordinary... I mean, Senior Associate Justice Leonen in a speech almost exactly 10 years ago in my city said the Supreme Court is not perfect. Citizens and academics certainly have the right to call attention to the fallibility of the courts. The Supreme Court should not be immune to public scrutiny. So I want to bring you in. Clearly, unless sobrang third world ka mag-isip, hindi dapat monopoly ng mga constitutional lawyer or any law. You shouldn't have a law degree to be able to be in a position to say something on a matter which reflects our constitutional democracy. Diba? We are the ultimate sovereign and the Constitution is the highest representation of that.
Exactly. And then yun nga, was it the saying na parang the rulings of the court are not edicts from heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Someone said that, no? Na
right.
parang it's very, that characterizes it very well na we still live in a democratic society and no one is above criticism and feedback from, especially from the institution. The two of you already mentioned that the Supreme Court said na rin that we're not above reproach. And
Right.
yun na lang, it's scary that even an academician, by the way, Richard, we support you on this issue. We stand with you and Kong Percy.
You want to say hashtag I stand with Richard?
Hashtag stand with Richard and Kong Mother Percy. No?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So
Yeah.
also, I was saying na yun it's very chilling na when you provide feedback, and our institutions are stronger primarily because it's open to criticism and feedback from the sovereign, which is us. The Filipino people. And what are we teaching our younger generations na parang you can be easily brought to court if something like this prospers, na meron lang silang hindi gustong sabihin sa'yo.
Chilling effect,
Wala
right?
na.
I mean,
So,
maybe
chilling
some
effect,
of us, as normal as we are, we may have the resources to defend ourselves or platforms. I can go on TV. I'm part of the media. I'm part of the academe. But what will be the effect on someone who doesn't have that platform or resources? So like, oh my God, si Aidarian na nga, ginanon lang for just mentioning certain facts. So baka hindi na ako magsalita, di ba? Although it looks like hindi yan ang naging effect. It looks like nagkaroon ng actually opposite effect, right? Don't you think this whole DDS lawyers with very questionable background, to put it nicely, actually have done a disservice to by sensationalizing this issue or
Nagugulat lang ako
or
dito
appearing
sa
as
mga DDS lawyers na ito na yung si Sara Duterte na napak na ng sheriff, no, na nag-e-enforce ng court order, hindi mo naman narinig sa kanila na let's respect the courts. She is an officer of the court pa, no?
By the way,
Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa siya napaparusahan dyan. Hanggang ngayon, walang kagalos-galos si Sara Duterte na sinapak yung court sheriff who's enforcing a court order. Saan yung sinasabi dito mga lawyers na ito nung sinasabi na respect the judiciary as an institution. I call on them right now, kung totoo na gusto nyong respetuhin ang institution at ang judiciary as an institution, they call for the punishment of Sara Duterte for what she has done doon sa court sheriff, no? Kung hindi, wala nang respeto
naman daw,
sa lahat.
so.
Pero alam mo yon, this is an officer of the court at sinapak niya, but it doesn't cancel out the fact that is direct assault. Wala kang maririnig dito sa mga to. So yung genuineness ba at hypocrisy ng mga nagfa-file na to must be called out, no?
Tsaka gusto ko lang din i-add na parang there's this erosion of public discourse now, na parang babarahin ka na lang bigla. Sige, ikaw na lang magaling, or ikaw yung abogado.
Mas magaling ka pa pala sa Supreme Court eh.
Yo,
Yeah.
diba? So parang feeling
Pero
ko...
pwede naman, di ba? Mas magaling ka.
Pwede naman. Pwede naman. It's a human institution. That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying.
In theory, I don't think it's impossible.
Oo.
Is it?
Kahit mas bata ka, hindi ang galing at ang talino at ang pagiging tama, hindi yan factor ng education,
Right.
hindi yan factor ng age, hindi yan lang yan factor ng experience. There are instances na kahit yung mga mas bata sa atin, mas tama. Yung mas hindi kasing taas ang edukasyon sa atin, mas tama, no? So, lahat tayo dito dapat we mutually respect each other's point of view and we try to listen. And then we do a healthy debate, even with the decisions of the Supreme Court.
Right.
Again, at the Supreme Court, tandaan natin ha, public officials yung mga yan. Sinisweldohan yan ng taxpayers' money, no? Pera ng taong bayan. And hence, and hence, yung taong bayan dapat should be free to criticize them properly. No, hindi sila dapat onion skin. Iba yung siguro yung usapan noong kay Larry Gadon na minumura yung Supreme Court.
Bakit walang I stand with
Iba yon. Pero yung sasabihin mong mali yata yung Supreme Court dito, ito yung ramifications ng decision ng Supreme Court, ito yung reading ng text ng Constitution, na politicize yata yung Supreme Court in this particular instance because political scientists should be able to discuss whether or not the court appeared to have been politicized. Diba?
This is a standard discussion
It's
in any...
and alam mo, even abroad, in almost liberal democracies, judges are criticized by members of the parliament any single time. Lalong-lalong dangerous yung kay Percy, kay Congressman Percy, kasi she's speaking as a member of the House of Representatives
Deputy Minority Leader
who should be able to criticize a co-equal branch. Kaya nga yung check and balances, no? So hopefully, grabe yung chilling effect nito kung sakasakali. And again, it's gonna be a sad day for free speech especially when these legitimate concerns and criticisms will be silenced just because magiging too onion-skinned yung court. I'm just quoting from jurisprudence, ha?
Yeah.
Ang sabi ng jurisprudence, public officials should not be onion-skinned.
Or
Public
weaponization of this petition. I mean, like, for instance, na-reference ko dun sa isang discussion, I think it was with Senator Trillanes, like this study in the Journal of Law and Social Inquiry. The title is Justices and Political Loyalties, an empirical investigation of the Supreme Court of the Philippines, 1987 to 2020. Loyalty effects. It's a term in political science. So if we are not in a position to even mention this because it will come out as contemptuous, you're basically making it illegal for us political scientists to exercise as role as public educators. I mean,
And to
I
do an
don't know
study.
what country where are these DDS people coming from? Well, yung isa naman, banned party list. Yung puro mga questionable characters. So, but this is crazy, right? This is crazy.
Tapos all of a sudden, di ba, talagang respect to the court system. Pero noong panahon ni Rodrigo Duterte, halos ayaw ninyo yung korte, tinanggal si Chief Justice Sereno.
Binastos ni Digong ilang beses yung Chief Justice.
Si Chief Justice Sereno. Tahimik. Sinasabi ni Rodrigo Duterte noon, salahan na lang yung mga korte, wala siyang pakialam sa due process and human rights. Tahimik, no? Ang nangyayari noon is hindi dinadaan sa korte yung paghuhusga sa mga taong papatayin, namamatay na lang sila, pasarahan na lang natin yung korte kung ganun kasi kaya naman pala napatayin na lang yung mga tao na walang sinasabi yung korte. Tahimik. Tapos, ngayon na merong political victory si Sara Duterte at kinikriticize yung decision ng Supreme Court, all of a sudden, sila yung vanguards of the judiciary, protecting the integrity of the judiciary. Sino namang niloko nitong mga ito, di ba? It's hypocrisy at its finest.
I want to ask you, Carlo, what is your sense, us as ordinary citizens, bakit napaka-invested ang mga DDS dito sa ruling na to? They seem very invested in this ruling. Bakit kaya? I wonder, I've never seen any DDS so invested in a Supreme Court ruling and defending it at all costs and trying to silence any criticism, weaponizing petitions. Bakit kaya, sa tingin mo?
Well, I would suppose that one angle you can look at is maybe the decision favors them, quite obviously.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm surprised.
Possibly, no? That's one angle you can
Also,
take a
they
look
don't
at.
want trial for Sarah. They don't want her to have a chance to prove she's innocent. Because they're not confident she'll be proven
I
innocent.
know, but against 80% of the Filipino population that was surveyed na wants her to go through the process to ferret out the truth. So,
Gusto ko lang sabihin ang dami ko kasing friends na nandun sa other side of the fence.
Ayan tayo
na medyo ano ba tawag doon? Yung parang nagtuwan-tuwa. Tinawagan pa ako noong lumabas yung Supreme Court decision.
Right.
Sabi ko, bakit? Napawalang sala ba? Meron ba sinabi sa Supreme Court na hindi totoo lahat ng
Actually,
mga akusasyon?
sinabi na exactly na hindi
Hindi siya napawalang sala.
Exactly.
Merong technical, merong procedural.
Right.
Ang sinasabi ko nga, huwag kayo masyado magbunyi. Kasi nandiyan pa rin naman yung mga kasalanan.
Tsaka na-obvious na parang ayaw niya.
Tsaka bakit ayaw nyo na trial? Bakit? Kala ko ba ang tapang-tapang ninyo? Parang boxing match lang ni Baste tsaka ni Torre. Diba na parang ang tapang nung
Bloodbath.
Nung kinol, may gusto raw ng bloodbath, sabi ni Sara Duterte, pero parang pinipigilan naman yung proseso ng impeachment. Fine. Sige, pigilan ninyo yung proseso ng impeachment. Nagagalit lalo yung taong bayan, nagmumukha lalo na may gusto kayong itinatago kasi hindi naman kayo napawalang sala doon. At ang sabi ko nga, nung sinagot ko siya, "Hoy boss, hindi kayo napaganda pa? Bakit? Bakit tingin mo ba hindi i-refile ng House yan sa February 2026? Naku, papalapit na eleksyon, doon pa mabibilad yung mga kasalanan ninyo sa taong bayan. So huwag kayo masyado magbunyi at mag-celebrate. Baka naman napaganda pa. Kasi hindi naman na walang bisa lahat ng mga kasalanan nyo sa bayan.
That's very clear in the ruling, by the way. Just to be fair also to the Supreme Court. Hindi lang sinabi na walang kasalanan si Sara. They took procedural. But I want to go back to this because we had Justice Ascuna, Justice Carpio, multiple people on this show. Mukhang hindi pa I don't know what's the status of that supposed statement from one former Chief Justice, but another former Chief Justice, Panginiban, has been clear na feeling na rush ito, dapat may oral arguments. As we speak, there's a motion for reconsideration. Where do you see this going?
Well,
Doctrine of operative facts, prospective overruling. I mean, all of these things are at stake now.
Any motion for reconsideration is the attempt of a litigant to give the court a chance to correct its mistake. And I always say that, no? Courts are human institutions. Wag nating sabihin na hindi sila nagkamali. No, pag tingin ko nagkamali ka, decision mo pa rin yan. Final decision yan. Pero sasabihin ng litigant, this is a chance for you to correct your own mistake. And the reason why I think, and a lot of legal luminaries have already also spoken up, a lot of lawyer groups, even the Free Legal Assistance Group, the NUPL, mga law schools, mga retired justices, mga law school deans, almost unanimous na sinasabi na parang nakalimutan na ang pinag-uusapan natin dito ay process of accountability. Ibig sabihin, kung law on public officers yan, and public accountability, ang pinaka-importante is to give effect to the intent of the Constitution to hold these officials accountable. And by promulgating new rules. Kasi sinunod naman ng House yung rules sa Francisco versus House na i-refer, ang initiated ang isang impeachment complaint pagka may nag-file at ni-refer sa Justice Committee. In this particular instance, hindi sa ni-refer sa Justice Committee kasi merong second mode. And yun yung direct mode na iaakyat mo sa Senate of the Philippines. Bottom line is, hindi pwedeng prospective yung rules. Para ka nagbo-boxing, nagba-basketball, tapos sinabi mo, ay, inurong yung three-point line eh. Hindi na 3 points lahat yung mga yan.
Or may time travel. Pwede may time travel.
Di ba? Hindi pwede. Kaya lahat yan, basic rin yan sa aming mga law students, sa mga law students, lahat ng law students, saka sa aming mga lawyers, na in remedial law, pag remedial ang measure, pag procedural, although tama yung pinopromulgate mo, it cannot be binding retroactively. Prospectively yan. So assuming na natin na tama yung mga prescribed ni Justice Leonen, pero I disagree, at saka nung majority of the Supreme Court, dapat prospective yon. Unfair. Kaya nga sabi ni Justice Ascuna, yung fairness doctrine kailangan i-impose i-adopt, and at the same time yung doctrine of operative fact. Ang ibig sabihin lang noon, prospective dapat.
Hindi mo pwede retroactive sabihin, hindi na pwede.
Yun lang.
So just to finalize this discussion, I mean, where do you see this going? Because Justice Ascuna seems to be more optimistic that maybe there's a kind of an off-ramp here, but many people remain skeptical na considering this was en banc and na parang malabo daw na the court will. Is there a climb down potentially out of your... Let's say split the difference. Is there a way?
Based on my experience, it's rare that the Supreme Court
Very rare,
reverses itself. Pero it's not unheard of. Dati nga, mere letter lang eh. Mere letter lang na Estelito Mendoza before. If my memory serves me right, na-reopen ang isang buong case at tapos na desisyon at na-reverse yung decision. No? What's the point? The point is, yung Supreme Court kasi, may final word sila in our democracy. No? Pero yung final word na yon, even them do not have the power to alter the Constitution. So if they're wrong, they're wrong. And in my opinion, considering na tinatanggal nila yung constituent power ng Senate and the House of Representatives, a co-equal branch can say you don't have the authority under the Constitution to do that. Will the Supreme Court reverse itself if this is a pending litigation? No? So my fearless forecast is there's a possibility. And ako, naniniwala ko eh.
Like on the factual, like in the counting of the days, or gonna. I mean, there's a way for them to say, okay, we consider with certain clarification, gonna, and then make certain modification.
And then para to save to at least save the doctrine that they wanna promulgate, say that prospective yung application. And even if ina-apply namin retroactively here, the facts show na nag-comply pa rin yung House. Meron may way to do this, no? Bottom line is sa akin, dapat let's make sure that alive and breathing yung rules natin and yung provisions natin sa Constitution on accountability.
And last one, where do you see in terms of citizenry, the youth coming in terms of this? Obviously, UP Law has, not the entirety, but a number of faculty have come out. Many ex-justices, at least one ex-chief justice has come out. I'm not sure how many justices came out in support of this ruling. Parang wala pa masyado.
Parang wala pa.
Wala pa, which is also quite interesting.
Kasi talagang
parang wala pa.
Shocking eh. Shocking na sense. Hindi ako nakatulog ng 2-3 araw.
That's an interesting point. Actually, wala pa. You would have imagined if this is a debatable issue, there would have been something in the other there. But how about the non-legal community coming in? How should they get involved? Because some people's worry is not only a legal constitutional crisis, because I don't know, maybe it's malabo to see Senate defying them at this point in time unless something interesting happens. But for me, it's functional constitutional crisis, meaning complete erosion in confidence in all institutions of the state. You have a president who's not already that popular. You have a Congress that is already under attack. You have a Senate na nakakataas kila yung mga nangyayari. And then now even the Supreme Court's legitimacy and authority is being questioned by a lot of legal luminaries and civil society groups. How can you find a way out of this, lest the crackpots come and take advantage of this with extra constitutional ideas?
So first and foremost, but I think a lot of ordinary citizens who are always subjected to the harshest, possibly the harshest impact of the law, we just perpetuate the image that those in power cannot be held to account. Perhaps there's that perspective. And the other one is, in a groundbreaking decision like this, when you combine issues like someone being petitioned for contempt,
and then it's crazy, right?
Usapin ng topic of discourse and free speech. Those are the things that I think could probably be at the heads of people who are already disillusioned with the way the government is running. Kasi a lot of people will say, anong kinalaman yan? Bukas mahirap pa din ako, or bukas nagugutom pa din ako. So instead of the government being an institution where you derive hope or you see a potential change in your life, your
Source of assurance.
Source of assurance, yes. In a very tumultuous time, no less. Ito, nag-aaway na naman yung mga leaders, nagkakagulo na naman sa taas. Meanwhile, traffic pa din, mahal pa rin pagkain, hirap pa rin maghanap ng trabaho. So I guess
the flooding, we're still coping with this ramification. It's just going to get worse with climate change.
Education crisis pa din tayo.
So what you're saying is that erosion in institutions of authority is the last thing we need when we're facing so many crises at the same time.
Yes.
A concatenation of all of these crises.
Exactly.
Kaya namang i-hold into account yung mga institutions na yan. No? Yung tatlong bagay na I think for ordinary citizens like us, lahat naman tayo ordinaryo, di ba?
Yeah. We're not government officials.
We're not government officials. Nakita, tatlo naman lagi yung, di ba, yung ating institutions, methods of making sure na we participate and we make our democracy work, di ba? Ang tanda natin ng isang demokrasya ay isa continuing experiment, no? Wala guarantee yan na yan ay mag-work. Kaya siya continuing experiment. It's up to us to make it work, no? And yung tatlong K lagi ang natin iisipin. Kongreso, pumunta tayo sa Kongreso, sinubukan natin i-hold yung mga Duterte into account. Lalo na yung confidential funds, di ba? Yung procurement ng computer sa DepEd, yung malawakang patayan even sa ilalim supposedly ni Sara Duterte according to Bato-Bato, di ba? And Las Cañas, yung lahat sila Mary Grace Priatos, yung yung pagbabanta niya na patayin si Ferdinand Marcos, tsaka yung ganung mga attitude ba, di ba? Pupunta tayo sa Kongreso first to hold them accountable. Mukhang it did not push through kasi matagal hindi finorthwith ni Cheese Escudero, enough so much so na nakapasok yung Supreme Court. Yung pangalawa is Korte. Nag-umaasa tayo supposedly sa Korte, yung pangalawang K. Wala eh. Yung Korte nagsabi dito na parang natigil yung accountability mechanism eh. So saan tayo pupunta? Doon sa pangatlong K. And the pangatlong K is always alive, di ba? It is up to us, citizens, to go to the streets, kalsada, yung pangatlong K, di ba? Let's protest actions like this na walang accountability, actions like this na ginagawang chichirya yung pera ng bayan, actions like this na binababoy yung accountability mechanisms and ang ating justice system at binabastos araw-araw yung mga ordinaryong Pilipino na nagbabayad ng tax, hirap na sumasakay ng MRT, hirap na sumasakay ng jeep, napaka-traffic pa rin, 4 na oras sila magbabiyahe, magtatrabaho sila ng 8 oras for what? For a minimum wage na hindi man lang binanggit doon sa zona. 'Di ba? Pagkatapos nun, uuwi sila pagod na pagod, wala man lang time doon sa mga pamilya nila. Tapos, yung pera nila, bayad pa nila. Kasi pag nagbabayad ka ng kahit ano, bibili ka ng sardinas, may tax yan. Di ba? May VAT yan. So lahat tayo taxpayers, as baabuhin yung pera mo. No?
One of the highest
choice,
VAT
diba?
rates in Asia. Yeah.
What choice do we have? And I think dapat malinaw sa atin na kahit nakakapagod, continuing experiment yung democracy.
Right.
And we need to go to the streets sometimes. Walang masama sa protesta. Walang masama sa rally. In fact, in a democracy, integral yan to make sure that our public officials are held to account. We already tried the courts. We already tried Congress. Now it's time to go to the kalsada, to the streets.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to say I stand with Richard Haydaran, but I would really enjoin everyone to contribute to this, whatever thing we're trying to do here, right? Which is the idea is that wag natin iwanan ng politika sa mga politiko, right? We have to have a say in this and we have to get involved. So these little platforms we have, these little discussions we have, is our little contribution, humble contribution to an active citizenship, right? Informed citizenship, and hopefully a more mature democracy. On that note, by my fellow youth na medyo matandang millennials na tayong lahat, maraming salamat for...
Matandang millennial na ba tayo? Di pa yata.
Oo.
Matandang Tito Talks. Young Tito Talks.
Baka ma-fact check tayo sa age.
Oo, baka ano tayo dyan, contempt tayo dyan ng ibang generations. Thank you so much for joining us for this latest episode. Susunod, pag-usapan naman natin yung mga latest surveys saying that apparently Sara Duterte's numbers are on the downward trajectory. Does this mean that we may see finally some change in momentum in our politics? At ano naman yung prospects for 2028 elections as early as now? Pag-usapan natin different permutations. What if I'm Sara? What if, I don't know, Torre Tulfo, Lenny, bam! Ang daming pwede pag-usapan yan. So, stay tuned.